Hi guys, and welcome back to Christian Casts, where I build bait so you don't have to. Today we are again going to work on another variation of our swim bait. I really enjoy it, as you all know anyway by now. And we have made a brown trout, we have made a rainbow trout. So the only variation on the trout spectrum for my region will be a brook trout. So then we've got our trinity of trouts. So I am actually going to try and do a little bit of a interpretation of my own. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of greens and browns and everything. So I'll get you guys set up and we'll start grounding our bait. And then we'll also be doing some details today. But we'll be doing it with some yellows, because I looked at quite a lot of pictures of brook trout and they've got more of the yellow dots and not so much of black and red. Some red, a little bit of silver dots, but mainly we are going to focus on the yellow dots and we'll see how it turns out. I still want to do a little bit of a very light silver scale, but you'll see anyway as we get along in the video, and I'll set you guys up that you see the desk and we'll straight away start painting. Welcome to the desk, and I have got our white color loaded for the grounding process, and we'll just straight away start. So it's really cool. I cleaned my airbrush very thoroughly today before I started the airbrushing process, and it just sprays a lot better. So a little tip for myself as well, just to try and keep the airbrush as clean as possible. If I'm gonna do something today in the afternoon still, I won't be going through a thorough clean. I would just put in some water and come back to it. Otherwise I really have to try and get to it and always take it apart and make sure that there's nothing gunked up in there. So I have to say, these colors really spray well. So if you're looking into starting your airbrushing, you can really check them out. They are on the thinner side, you don't have to thin them down a lot, and they're really easy to spray. And as you see, we've got already quite a nice coverage. We'll still go over the belly one more time just to clean up where the main lead hole is, because that takes more than one coat. But otherwise I'm quite happy with that already. So we'll set this off and then I'll actually start with the colors today and we'll see how that goes. So my next step is going to be taking some dark gray as the first underground for the bait. So we're going to go over the head section and also along the sides just to darken it down, and that when we go over with the olive green mixed with some bronze or some other variations, we'll actually cover up the gray and we won't need to spray as much and get a little bit of a mix. Well, at least that I'm hoping for. So we'll see. That was not good. There was still some water from cleaning. As you see, we've got a little bit of a ring. So now the color is coming. Nothing that we can't fix, but still. So now we've got the both body parts ready with the gray, and now we're going to start working with some olive green, and I'll mix in some bronze and maybe a tint of brown. I'm not too sure yet. We'll see how the color actually turns out, and then I'll play around with that a bit, and then we'll do the first detail work, and then we're going to also make a little bit of a golden lateral line, but you'll anyway be taken with on the process. We are back, and I have mixed a little bit of olive green into some brown, and it seems a little bit more green than it actually sprays. If you look here, we're now just going to give a little bit of a base coat of this before coming from the top and actually darkening down the spine with the olive green itself. So I'll get started. So that I'm quite happy with. Through mixing these colors, I won't be pouring them back, and I'll get rid of them. And then we're actually going to maybe put on the olive green straight away from the top, or I actually might add the golden lateral line 4 with a little bit of bronze in the afterwards from the top. So I have now added the gold, and we're going to go ahead and paint our lateral line just like that. So that's going to be the gold for us. Now I'm going to spray this a little emptier, that there's still a little bit of gold, and we'll put in some bronze and hit it from the top and actually go over like that, that it adds up and blends into the gold just a little bit, not getting too much coverage because we don't want that. We still want some color from the underneath coats to get through, but that's what we're going to do in the next step. So the bronze is added to our gold, and I mixed it a little bit, and we won't be needing a lot of it. So now we're just going to go ahead and add a little bit of shine. And that's now finished. Now we'll go ahead and load our olive green, darken the top, and then we'll clean up the overspray a little bit. Well, we have got our olive green loaded, and we're now just going to go over the head and also a little bit over the sides. So that's going to be the olive green part for us. We're now going to just clean out the airbrush and put in some white and clean up the belly, that we really have got a nice white belly before we add our orange and red, and then we'll already be in the step of doing our scales. We have got our white locked and loaded. Now we're just going to go over just give it a nice little white belly. Too late, too late, too late, too late. Well, now I'll have to go with it. Yeah, I don't like that too much, but we'll see how that goes. I'll now still add our orange belly. That was a bit too heavy on the white. But I'll see what we can do. So after that little fail with the white, we are actually going to add our orange and really come from the bottom and be quite aggressive with it. So we'll see how that goes. That's going to be that part. And now the tail part that we failed with a bit. I think that's actually going to be okay. So there we go. Orange fixed quite a lot, so that's great. Now I'll get everything ready for the scales. So finally we've got our silver loaded for the scales, and we'll start. So that's going to be the first color of our scales today. I'm going to try something new, and we're also going to be adding a little bit of bronze and some olive green into the scale pattern today. So that's going to be the next step, and I'll take you guys with straight away. So there we go, we've added it, and now we're just going to go slightly from the side, just like that. And try and give it a little bit of a other dimension. That's going to be pretty much it for the scales. And now we'll see how that turns out once I take off the mesh. Let's see what we're working with. So let's get this tail out. I think that's going to be quite okay under the scale pattern, and after adding some details. So I'm actually quite happy. We'll see how it looks once we got the details on and the clear coat, and I think it will actually be better than I thought. So let's carry on. So for today's detail work, we will be using some yellow. So that's going to be the yellow for us. Now we're still going to add some red just along its lateral line. So I'll go ahead, oops, bumped you guys. So we're going to go ahead and so that's going to be the dots for us. We'll let that dry. I'll add one still here. and then once it's dry we'll do the other side, and then we'll get to gluing the eyes in. So let's start the next side, and we'll need a little more color. Bigger dots. So now I could still think about adding some black dots. I didn't think of that in the first step, so I might do that, and you anyway know how it goes. So it's just going to be the same process with a little bit of black dots, not a lot, and then we'll get to clear coating after gluing in the eyes. So as most of you know, the next step is going to be adding our eyes. So I've got these. I really enjoy these orange cat eyes, and I'm gonna go ahead and place them just like that, and the lure looks pretty much done. So now I'll do the other one as well still, and then we'll head over to clear coating, and then I might even take this one for a spin today, just to show you the action in my river next door, and we'll see how it looks. Maybe we'll even be able to land something, but I'll be mainly just showing you the action in a actual river, that you guys see how the lure performs and how it runs. So let's get to the clear coat and harden it, that we can get out there today. So because most of you know this process already, I will just take you with shortly and show you how the lure looks underneath the clear coat. So we've got that nice golden shine, the dots come out quite nicely, and then we will just jump over to the outro, and then we'll maybe still take it out for a little spin as soon as it is hardened. So I'll see you soon. Hi guys, and welcome back to the outro. Another bait build is done, and I am actually quite happy with how it turned out. The joint is really clean, and we've got a lot of movement, and I really enjoyed this build, although it was a bit more work than usual, but I am glad you took the time and tuned in for another bait build. I might take this one straight away out and give it a little spin and show you guys the action. So I'll say goodbye now for the moment, and then we'll see each other maybe still by the river, and I hope that the water is a little bit cleaner, that you guys can actually see the action, and who knows, I'll give it a few casts and we'll see if we're able to land something. If not, we'll see each other for the next bait build next week, and I wish you guys a great one, and we'll see each other. Cheers. So as I was telling you guys, we're gonna go ahead and test our little bait that we had, and I'm just gonna do some short casts right here, and I'll pop you guys on my chest, and then we'll maybe move on. I'll try to show you the action in a place. So let's see what we're able to get. So I don't know if you guys can actually see it. really has a nice wobble, and we'll just give it some short casts to see. Oops, that was not good. So we might actually move spots, and I'll take you guys with. I'm really happy with the action. I'll give it one more cast and then we'll move, because I don't want to drag this out too long. So, quite happy with that. Let's carry on and see if we're actually able to land something. We are at the next spot, and we'll try to come to the bank a little bit, and then I don't know if you can actually pick up on that. But I'm really happy how it runs. And we'll just head down a bit. I think we got some weeds. Yeah. There's a lot of algae at the moment. But I'll give it some casts still, and I'll get you guys back in case there's some action, because as I said, we don't want to drag it out too long today. Hi guys, so I gave it some casts. We tried it quite a bit. I'll show you a little bit more of the lure again, and we sadly didn't get anything, so I'm gonna head home and we're gonna try it a other day at a different spot, and we'll see if we get lucky. There's not a lot of activity at all. You don't see anything rising or anything in that direction, so hopefully it gets better. We'll try out some new spots. You might notice I'm not actually in my normal region, and we have to get to know this river and see where the fish are. So keep tuned if you're interested, and I hope you enjoyed this bait build and the little outdoor fishing adventure with the bait, and you could see the action. And we'll see each other for the next bait build. Cheers.